Kansas State at TCU. TCU's a 3.5-point favorite here, over under 54. Look, these are two undefeated teams in the Big 12. This game will have massive implications for who gets to the title game. I played Kansas State plus 3.5, which is still available out there. It's a great spot, number one. Right, your Kansas State's coming off of a bye, and TCU's coming off. They played their rival in the Iron Skillet Bowl, whatever, against SMU, and then 3 ranked teams. And I've talked about the TCU defense. I think that there's major holes, and I don't think that their defensive metrics actually illustrate some of the holes in their defense, because take a look at who they just played. They played 3 ranked teams, right? Who did they beat? Oklahoma State. Spencer Sanders deteriorated because of his injury in the second half. It was clear. Oklahoma, they almost murdered Dylan Gabriel in the first quarter, or I think early second quarter, and he was out for the game. And then you had a literal pumpkin come in at quarterback. And their other win against a ranked team, why am I blanking right now? Against Kansas, Daniels gets hurt. So they played 3 ranked teams in a row. The starting quarterback is either hurt or got hurt in all 3. And they still were in absolute shootouts. So I think that this defense has holes. I think Kansas State can exploit some of these holes. I also think Kansas State, just on the ground, Deuce Vaughn is going to be able to get yardage and keep the sticks moving. And then Kansas State's top 20 defense across the board, no matter what metric you look at. Most importantly, top 10 against the pass. So I think big Deuce Vaughn game, great spot, just a situational spot. It's going to be close. TCU, I don't think TCU is really capable of blowing out these like top tier teams, because their defense is just not going to get stops. So it'll probably be back and forth throughout. So I'll gladly take the 3.5. And this is, what do we have? We have Saturday. I assume that there's going to be wind. Yeah, we're 20 mile an hour winds. I think that favors Kansas State as well. So I'll take the hook here. I think TCU might run out of gas. The defense is going to be exposed. As long as Adrian Martinez doesn't get hurt, because TCU's been benefiting from QB injuries all year. Give me the Wildcats, Email.
Yeah. I mean, this is sort of
You're going to fade your babies?
No, I mean, I love these two teams. I mean, full disclosure, I don't have a penny on this game going into this, and I don't know if I'm going to, because I've got a massive
amount. That's what I said. These are your babies. Are you going to fade? You'd have to fade one of your babies.
I got TCU tickets all over the house. I got a couple of Kansas State 14-1s around here somewhere, and I've got to take inventory and just hope that nobody gets hurt in this game. If you're gonna bet Kansas State to win, and I think stuck where I'm at is like, are we gonna put Kansas State in the money line round robin parlay this weekend? And for Chris Kleiman he's got to call a perfect game, and he's got to beat TCU by keeping that offense off the field. He's got to keep Max Duggan and Quentin Johnson off the field, because Kansas State against the pass is not very good at all. So you need Deuce Vaughn, Adrian Martinez to run all day. They need to ugly it up in the trench, because TCU is 105th in defensive stuff rate, and they let Oklahoma State look like a decent run game, which is not true. And you have to wonder, how did Kansas keep it a 1-possession game against the Horned Frogs the entire time? They choked 34 minutes off the clock. They averaged 5 yards per carry. And Kansas State has the numbers and line yards and stuff rate to do the exact same thing on offense. So the issue with the Wildcats on defense is allowing explosives. The Horned Frogs, of course, are top 20 on ground, air. They can pick your poison. They can hit you either way. But Kansas State has really struggled on the second level when it comes to pass catchers that are loose and trying to tackle in space. Against Iowa State and Texas Tech, Kansas State allowed less than 10 missed tackles. But before that, when you had superior like in-space athletes for Oklahoma and Tulane, there were more than a dozen missed tackles. So I think that is the big worry. Kansas State needs to hog the ball. They need to make sure that they don't give up anything in the air to Max Duggan, which is going to be tough. But they're going to have to win in the trench. They're going to have to just play a bruising game. At 3, from a market perspective, the number has moved a little bit too far. I think it should be TCU -5, and you saw it come in heavy on Kansas State. Now it's down to 3.5. The next move at a couple of the shops that I trust and looking at their movement is probably back to 3. It's probably going to touch 3 and bounce. So, if you like Kansas State, I'd probably go ahead and scoop a 3.5. And if you like TCU, probably just wait it out.
I agree. The other thing is TCU's offense looks really good, and they are really good. But I just said the three teams that they beat, the three ranked teams, who all had quarterback injuries. Oklahoma State,
Yeah.
defense stinks. Oklahoma, defense stinks. Kansas,
Yep.
defense stinks. This Kansas State defense is by far the best defense that they'll face. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of things working in the situational spot as well in Kansas State's favor. Happily take the 3.5 here.